SMITE, the third-person MOBA game that is themed around mythologies around the world. In this presentation, we will connect how different principles deal with video games and learning. Principles that we will go over throughout this video are G's principles, diversity, McGonagall gamer skills, and games as a literature. To kick things off, I would like to give a general overview for SMITE, so you know what SMITE is. As I said before, SMITE is a third-person MOBA game released in 2014 by Hi-Rez and Team Forge, with publishers being Hi-Rez and Level Up Games. This game can play on both console and PC platforms. Gameplay-wise, the game offers an ability system, a currency system, and an XP-based system. Every character in the game has 3 different abilities and an ultimate ability. Depending on what character you have, all abilities do different things. Now that we have a general idea of what the game has, we can move on to our principles. G's principles. Co-design. G's first principle is co-design. To summarize the first principle, it's making players feel like what they do matters. This applies very heavily to SMITE. Players choose what kind of build and playstyles they want to play with. Players adapt according to enemy composition. If you adapt incorrectly, that could cost you the entire game. Item adaptability is one half of the process, but ability use is the other. I find myself asking this question at points throughout a match. What can I do to turn this game to our favor? And I believe that's what G wants devs to make us think about when creating a good game. I think that most players find themselves asking this question without even knowing it. That feeling of adaptation every game is what keeps players playing, and that's why I like this game. Nothing is ever the same each match. If things were the same, like there's one specific build that could win you the entire game, then the game would get boring. This game punishes those who just use a standard build, and this game forces players to make decisions and get out of their comfort zone. G's principle, customization. When the topic of customization comes to SMITE, in a way it is limited depending on what your character does in terms of role. For example, you wouldn't want a healer building a damage build when they should actually be playing support. You want to build items that synergize best with role and situation. I would like to again refer to the question that I ask myself during matches: what can I do to turn this game around? Or something in relation to that. The answer is a lot of things. I would like to start off with characters. SMITE has a difficulty rating on each god, ranging from easy to very hard. I've noticed that all characters have a specific combo to maximize efficiency in their use. The higher the difficulty, the more precise you're required to be. Now that we've talked about characters as individuals, we can move on to teams. Normally, you want to make your teams diverse with damage types to throw the enemy off, but rarely not diversifying works. The reason why is because you will not know what the enemy team composition is until everyone is locked in. Social fabric. For this next principle, it plays a huge role because this is a multiplayer game that revolves around teamwork, so direct communication to a player is vital. It is also looked down upon when players leave early, and they can even get punished for that by getting a temporary ban. All the rules are common for a MOBA, like play the role you choose, don't die on purpose, and I would even say that taking recommendations from other players applies. I used to get new players and they wouldn't know what they were doing in a game because it's their first time playing, so I recommend them to build certain items or even turn auto builder on just so they can get the assistance. When communication through chat does not work, you can choose to report players post-match. I would also like to point out that there's a commend system where you can rate players if they were doing well in teamwork, friendliness, and guide. This contributes to a system in the game where the more goodwill you can get incentives. Now that we got the technical stuff over with, we can move on to the cultural aspects of the game. Diversity. When we talk about diversity in games, it does not get more diverse than SMITE. As I've stated before, SMITE contains mythos from around the world. Each mythos is divided in pantheons: Greek, Roman, Nordic, Mayan, Chinese, Japanese, Celtic, Slavic, Voodoo, Hindu, Arthurian, Polynesian, Egyptian, and Yoruba. Hi-Rez does a good job in making these deities look like their own character. SMITE has one issue when it comes to sexualization of characters, and I feel like for some of these characters, we had to see it coming, like Aphrodite. She's literally the goddess of beauty. It would be inaccurate to make her not appealing. What I think SMITE did do a good job in is making females not seem underpowered because they're female. An appropriately built nemesis can shred a tank like cheese. I don't think anyone should feel left out when it comes to playing SMITE. Games as a literature. It's hard to develop a story on a solely based multiplayer game. You have to use context clues to figure out what is going on in this universe. SMITE does this in a way where they use symbolism through established stories already. In the character select screen, you can take a look at the general information of a god. The reason why I bring this up is because you can actually read the story of selected god. What I find really interesting is that they actually try to implement aspects of the story into the gameplay. This is clearly shown through the passive ability of Set. Set's ability Relentless is a buff that allows him to attack faster for each enemy hit that he gets on a god. However, if he hits his rival in the Egyptian mythos, Horus, he gets to attack even faster because of his rage. Other examples of symbolism in this game are Jormungandr, the world serpent from the Norse mythology. In the mythos, it is said that his body wraps around the world several times, and we actually get a glimpse of this when we get to see him use his ult. Blissful productivity and urgent optimism. Moving on to the next topic, I would like to first define these two definitions. Blissful productivity is the reason why you go on to play. The sense of progression. It's every other reason why you play a game other than the fact that you just paid $60 to play it. Urgent optimism is the will that you have not yet shattered to play a game. It's what makes you go, yeah, I can take that challenge on. It makes players anticipate the challenge themselves, but in a positive way. When applying blissful thinking to SMITE, we have to think, why do all players play besides payment? Because SMITE is a free-to-play game after all, unless you buy the Battle Pass. I would like to summarize what a Battle Pass is for those who do not know. Battle Pass is essentially a new leveling system in a game that has gotten popular as of recently. In a Battle Pass, you level up your level by going through tiers. To get to the next one, you typically have to at least participate in games to get some progress. Other games like SMITE offer quests to give you a boost in progression. Throughout the Battle Pass, you can get skins, voice packs, and other cosmetics. You can also get gems, which are in-game currency that are worth actual money. This is the sense of progression players feel when they're playing this game and why they choose to keep on playing, because it is free things after all. Urgent optimism can be seen in SMITE in a way that is not common with other games, because both teams stand a good chance to win. Obstacles in the game are the towers and enemy players. The reason why I say both teams have a good chance to win is because in the beginning, both teams start off with nothing but your gold, your level 1 abilities, and depending how you play, you can even beat pro players. Just one more thing before we wrap this up. I want to talk about accessibility quickly, because there's not much to say about it. I'll be honest, SMITE is not an accessible friendly game, because to be good at it, you require high precision and high finger dexterity. I honestly think it's a sad thought that SMITE offers no accommodations besides color blindness. There are no text size adjustments, no subtitles, or ports for mono controllers. For an old game, I'm surprised that there's no accommodation offered. I feel like developing accommodations would actually be difficult for the high-res team. That about wraps things up for this presentation. I would like to thank you, the viewer, for allowing me to show you how these principles apply to this video game that I enjoy playing so very much. Thank you.